Good morning. This is our second project, PLDC video. Today I'm going to tell you about how we can create a simple application using Eclipse in an Android platform. First of all, we have to open Eclipse. It is already created, that's why it's in this message. So Eclipse is already created. Now we have to create a new project. Uh, I'm going to close all the projects that I have opened. To create a new project, we have to go to new and other. In here we have to select Android project, then we have to click next. The project name should be there. I'll give new project. Then the then we have to select the build target, which version that we are using to build the application. I'm selecting Android 2.1. Then the application name, I give as a student. Then the package name, other thing is main activity name, other thing is SDK version. I'm using for the 2.1, the SDK version is 7. So then the project will automatically generated in here, new project. So in the src folder you can see there's the main.java file which we created when we started the project. We mentioned that our activity should be the main.java. Then other things is this, in this resource folder there is a folder called layout. In that also there is a main.xml which will the the view of the application which will bind with the Java program. So the next thing we have to do is create a view layout. To create a layout, we have to click on the layout folder and go to new, then other, then Android XML file. So then we must give a layout name, but we should remember we must give it in simple letters because the capital letters won't work with this. So I'll give list. Now I'm going to show you how we can add a list to the Android, to our application. To that, uh, I already created the layout. Now you can see this is my layout. The other thing we have to need is we have to add a list view. To add a list view, in the composite section we have list view. We have to drag and drop the list view, then it will create automatically. The code will be generated. We can take the code from that and edit as we want. The default ID name is list view 1. I'm going to change it as my list. Now it's changed. Now I'm going to main list. The main list, you can see our main class has extend activity. If we want to show something in emulator, this is Android emulator, we have to extend that class using activity. The onCreate method is the load method. When we are loading the emulator, the first method is to run is this onCreate method. So if we have something initial, if we have anything to initialize, we should write it in the onCreate method. First of all, I have to initialize my list view. So for that I create private list view type variable. After that I'm going to initialize it. List view equals list view find view by id my list. This my list is the name that I mentioned in the list view. Here this name is, we have to map this name with the Java code, then only the Java code will recognize the XML list view. The next thing we have to do is, uh, I'm not going to use database connections in this application, so I'm going to create a string array to initialize my adapter to fill the list. So I'm going to create a string arr Android, Apple, Nokia, Windows Mobile. The next thing we have to do is we have to add the list adapter to the list view. Then only after we set the list view, we have to set the adapter. Then only our data will load into the list view. For that, I have to create an array adapter. In the array adapter, we have to pass some parameters. I use string as this array adapter type, and the next thing is context. Context is the activity that we are currently using. I use this as the second parameter. We have to give the list style. So for that, I'm going to use Android default list style. For that, I have to take it from Android r dot layout dot simple list item 1. The third parameter is values. So I simply give my array name, then will it load, then values will be loaded to the list. Then again easily click on the right click on the project and then run as Android application, and you can see in the emulator it will take some time to load the emulator. That problem occurred because that the set content view parameter was wrong. I have mentioned it as main, but my list item is at list, so now it should work. As I mentioned, yeah, it's working now. This is Android list, and the other features in Android is this is just a sample example that I made show you, and also I can show you another project that I already created. Yeah, I'll explain the code also. So we can run this as Android application. In here, uh, before that, I'll give you a brief introduction about Eclipse and the Android SDK. After we installed Android plugin to the Eclipse, you can see Android specified functions in the Eclipse like Android SDK and AVD manager and the DDMS. The DDMS is very much important, and especially the Locket part. In the Locket part, we can easily look our messages. I mean the error messages. It will show in the Locket part. Then here is the account. This is the Android buttons, and after I click this button, it will move to another activity. It has another two buttons. After click add button, goes to another one. In the back button we go students, then it have an error. So let's forget about that, and let's continue to the code. That code I will explain you the sample code. uh, yeah, I'll explain you this code. In this code you can see the first thing is XML version 1 encoding UTF-5. That's the default thing that will automatically generate when you create the XML file. The linear layout is like a panel in Java. It holds the whatever the components we use. This is a must. So this statement is must, it will also automatically generate. Then here we are defining the width and the height of a linear layout. Fit parent means it will set to the full screen size. Then I am using another linear layout. I Now here I'm using an ID to identify that layout. Then I am going to set the layout width, layout height, and the orientation type as vertical, and the layout way. In that linear layout, I'm using a test view by giving a name, size, and the same values width and height. So like that we can create the XML. After creating the XML, you have to create a Java file to map that XML. For that you have to right click on the source code and create a new Java file as you normally use in any other IDEs. The main difference, the main thing in Android, the special thing in Android is when we create an object in the XML, it will automatically map that into r.java file as an integer parameter. So by using this integer variable, we can initialize the objects in Java code. That's the special feature that Android provide to link between the XML and the Java code. The other most important thing is if you are using static values, like here in this home XML I'm using string home. That string home means in this in the res folder there's another folder called values. In that values there's a XML file called string. Here we have to map our static strings if we are using in a project. So in when we if we want to localize the project into a different language, it will be easy to localize if we are keeping a static string separately. So that's about all about our lesson for now. If you want, if you really interested in develop Android, there are more help you can get from the internet. There are lots of tutorials available, lots of blog available for Androids, and already Google provide and developer.android.com website with the API, so you can refer there. Android is very easy to learn. You must the main thing is you have to improve your Java knowledge. Then it will very easy to understand. So that's all. Thank you.